I'd like to talk about an aspect of drumming that's really important and practical. I'd like to give a few tips right now on being a better gigging, working drummer. There are a few really obvious points to me. The first one is be on time. Show up in enough time to be ready to play. When they say downbeat for the gig is at 9 o'clock, get there in enough time to have your equipment all set up and just take a break and wash your hands and chill out for a minute before the gig. My dad always tells a story about in Detroit, he had a band that played all kinds of private parties and gigs, and he'd be there set up really early, and inevitably somebody in the band would come at the last minute, 5 minutes to 9, and the people are eating their food. If it's a wedding or whatever kind of party it is, people are eating their food, and they'd be carrying equipment over the tables. Oh, excuse me. And you get in the gig, and as soon as you wipe the sweat off your brow, boom, you start playing. That's not the best way to be a pro. The best way to be a pro is to get there early, have your stuff all tweaked out, and be relaxed on the gig. Another thing is really being prepared for the gig. If you're doing an audition or you're doing a gig that you've done a million times before, know the material. And if you're sitting in with the band, this is a big part about being a gigging drummer. Lots of times after the gig, you might go in and sit in with other people's bands. When you sit in, one of the most important aspects of sitting in with the band is knowing how they end the tune. And all it takes is looking over at the bass player and saying, "Hey, Joe, how do you guys end this tune?" "Oh, we go da 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 da." Glad I asked. You got to know how the band ends a tune. It could be the Woodstock ending. We're right down the street from Woodstock. Look at me now, check my licks. Well, if it's the Woodstock ending, you're in good shape because it's the one chance you'll get to probably use your double pedal. On a normal pop gig, top 40 gig. Anyway, these are little tips, but a big tip is that 50% of the gig and touring has to do really with drumming. The other 50% is what kind of a person are you? What kind of an attitude do you bring to the party? Are you going to be one of those people that complain about everything? How come I didn't get the first class tickets in the hotel room that has the bowling alley and the putting green outside? Or, like Spinal Tap, when I filled this sandwich in the backstage, it's half a cent. Or whatever it is, don't be that person. Don't be a complainer. The great Louis Bellson once gave me some advice. I asked him years ago, he was at our wedding, and I said, "Louis, how do you do this? You've been playing all your life. You do gigs, you do recording sessions, you go out with your big band, the small group, you do drum clinics." And he said, "I take care of myself, I eat right, I exercise, I walk a lot, and I just try to keep a positive attitude." Keeping a positive attitude is so incredibly important. To Louis Bellson, the glass is not half empty, the glass is half full. And if you can look at things that way, you'll be a lot better off. Louis Bellson said, don't let negative thoughts enter into your mind. Just try to be positive. So when you learn the tunes on a gig or you learn the tunes on an audition, what helps me a lot, even on recording sessions, whatever I do, I write out little quick cheat sheets. I'll write the tempo of the tune out. And if I'm doing an audition, I want to know before I do the audition what tunes are going to be played. It's real easy to just say, "Oh yeah, the audition's next Tuesday. Sure, I'll be there." Well, do yourself a favor and ask the question, "Can I get a couple, 2 or 3 tunes that we might play?" Get as many as you can. And usually a manager or somebody in the band will say, "Oh yeah, they're going to do this, this, and this off their first album." Or even if it's a band that's not signed, say, "Could I get a hold of your demo tape? And I'd like to be familiar with the tunes." So when you learn these tunes, you listen for the feel of the demos. If you can, at least the first time through, play them the way the band's used to hearing them on the demo or on the record, if it's a tour, you're going to be in a lot better shape. You get a ballpark tempo. What I do is I take a little, like a Dr. Beat kind of a click track, and I put a little in-ear monitor in, and before the tune, I click on it and find out where the tempo is so that I can start the band off at the right tempo. Then I turn it off, and it's actually a good check, because at the end of the tune, after you play the last ba-broom, before the next tune, you can just click on that tempo and go, "Boy, did I speed up," or "Boy, did I slow down," or "What was I thinking?" It's a good check, and that'll keep your groove in check too, but it's really important to start the tunes off at the right tempo. There's nothing worse than a drummer that's super excited and clicks off the tune at the wrong tempo, and the other guys in the band are looking around going, what song is this? Try to do it at the right tempo. So when you're doing an audition, you might also, here's another thing to think about, you might be playing on another drum set. Chances are you probably will. If there's a cattle call audition and there's 30 drummers coming down, you won't get to bring your exact DW titanium 9,000 foot pedal and have your exact cymbals and maybe even your setup. So it's important to go and jam with other bands and sit in on people's drums. Here's a big tip. When you're sitting in on somebody else's drums on Monday night jam night, don't close your eyes and just, because guess what? When you close your eyes, your cymbal might not be where the cymbal is on your comfy, cozy set at home. You know, you got to keep your eyes open and because it's real easy to drop a stick when you go for the cymbal that's not there and you drop your stick. You look like Charlie Callis. Keep your eyes open. Be aware. And when you do these auditions, look at other people. It's not about getting into your little cubicle in your little space and playing, I am the drummer, this is the tune, this is how it goes. Look at the other musicians. There's so much that can be done with the form of a tune. If you look at the bass player's eyebrow, they could go, oh, that must be the B section. Or here's the ending. And they can cue you with rhythms with their guitars and just watch other people. Interaction is so important. You've got to have super big ears and listen all the time. You've got to have some Ross Perot ears. Look around and keep your ears wide open. It's really, really important. So there's that, and there's also the aspect of trying to eat right and take care of yourself and exercise when you're on the road, or even if you're not in a band and you're just trying to get gigs and stuff. It's important. Drums are a very physical instrument. Try to stay in shape, drink tons of water, lots and lots of water, exercise. I always try to do we have a life cycle bike at home. I'll watch drum DVDs and ride my life cycle bike, and it's really, and once you've got your mind on something else, 45 minutes can go by really quickly. It's important to warm up before you play and stretch out and just, do motions slowly that you'll do before you play the drums. But then when you warm up, it's a whole other animal. A lot of times I just sit for 20 minutes and I just warm up on singles and doubles. And then I do the same kind of a thing with my feet. I just get my feet moving, get the blood flowing. And I always seem to go singles on the bass drums, and I go right, left, and doubles, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. I'll start slow. This could go for 20 or 30 minutes. Posture is really important too. If you have this kind of posture, which I'm definitely guilty of a lot, you can really put a lot of strain on your low back. It's important to keep good posture and think of the drums, set them up ergonomically so you're not, just going nuts and trying to, you're going to throw your back out or mess up your shoulder. And anyway, for me, I like to keep everything pretty, sensibly set up and try to think about posture, try to think about ways. I think it's really important to realize that there's no one way to hold your sticks. There's no one way to play with the feet on the bass drum pedals. There's a lot of ways, and find what ways work for you. It's interesting that sometimes when I see great drummers that I love play, they change up their fulcrums. They change up the way they play for the dynamics that they play. I remember taking lessons from a symphony drummer that once taught me, okay, the best way to play is like this, and you need this space open here, and you hold your sticks like this. But what I didn't realize is this guy usually played about this volume. What happens when you're going, bah, boom, bah? If I play that same way, it's not going to work. I need to adjust my fulcrum, adjust the way I play for different volumes of music and for different things I want to do. So it's really important for me. One story I just have to tell is an audition that I did when I first moved to Los Angeles. I auditioned for Stevie Wonder. I didn't get the gig, but it was an incredibly great learning experience. I worked on all these tunes. I had the tempos figured out. He said, what do you want to play? Oh, wow, he's letting me choose the tune. And I picked Do I Do, which was a great Stevie Wonder tune. And he said, okay, good. After that, he said, what do you want to play next? I picked Master Blaster. And that starts off with a drum fill. That tune went pretty good. But after that, he said, could you lead me back to the drums? Oh, I went up and grabbed Stevie Wonder's hand, kind of led him back to the drums. He just kind of felt around, felt the sticks, and picked up the sticks pretty much like this. Now, that's not a recognized PAS accepted grip, I don't think, but you know what? It worked. I'm not saying hold your sticks like this, but basically Stevie Wonder just picked up the sticks. I didn't even notice a recognizable fulcrum, but when he played, it sounded so incredibly funky. He played this groove. So the right hand, even and funky. And the bass drum was going. First of all, try going really evenly. It's pretty hard to do. Well, he was playing with a fulcrum that you couldn't even really do a roll on. You need a fulcrum to be able to do a double stroke roll. It's about the pinch. I can't do a roll like this. But my point is, for what he was doing, Stevie Wonder sounds pretty good, really, really good on those early Stevie Wonder albums where he's playing drums and nobody's listening to the records going, I wonder which fulcrum he's using. Could it be this one? No, it doesn't even matter. That being said, I get a chance to go around the world every year doing tours and things, and I get to hear drummers play and talk to drummers, and a lot of times I'll say, hey, let me hear you play a double stroke roll. You'd be surprised how many drummers cannot really play a double stroke roll. Or close it and make a buzz roll. So everything I said before, you really need the proper fulcrum, the proper pinch to be able to pull off doubles. And rudiments, paradiddles, double stroke rolls, everything has to do with singles and doubles. So warming up is really important, but cooling down is really important. A really good buddy of mine, a neighbor friend of mine, Luga Podesta, he's the doctor in Los Angeles for the LA Dodgers and the LA Lakers and the LA Avengers indoor football, arena football league. And he's a drummer, and he gave me some great advice about warming up, but also about cooling down. He said, you know what pitchers do, or ball players that have played a really intense, few innings or whole game? He says they ice after they play. They ice their tendons. I don't care if they're 18 years old or how old they are. You ice tendons after you've pitched. You ice your shoulder. A lot of ball players sit in ice jacuzzis and ice their whole body because what you do is you get the muscles, it reduces the inflammation that you've built up. So he came to a recording session I was doing one time, and I was playing, and after this tune of playing really, really hard, I started icing my tendons right here because they were a little sore. And he goes, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm icing, right now. He goes, great, but you're going to go out there and play again in 5 minutes, right? Oh, yeah. It was like 4 o'clock. We're here till midnight, If you tried the veal, we're here till midnight, He says, no. Don't ice if you're going to go back out and play. I said, really? And he says, yeah, you're freezing your tendons. Now you're going to go out and play on frozen tendons. Not a good idea. You ice down after you're done for the whole night. So on the way home, I'll drive home. I'll stop at 7-Eleven and buy a little thing of ice. Put it here, I'll just kind of ice places that need to be cooled down. So anyway, I think those are a few tips about just trying to cool down and warm up and cool down and just take care of yourself. Take care of the body God gave you because drumming is a very physical instrument.